Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about team players. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, in one of your previous videos you tried to explain that being an introvert doesn't mean that you can't be a part of a team or be a team player. But you never explain what you mean by being a team player when you're working in a software team. Can you explain what you mean? Well, I when I say team player, basically what I mean is that you have the ability to fit into a group where it's more of, I would say that it's mostly a state that the group that you find yourself in needs to be in, and the state that you're looking for that makes you know whether or not you're a good team player or you're part of a real team is that you have a balance between the needs of the group and your own needs. What that basically means is that you trust the people in your group and you feel comfortable with them, and in return, they feel the same way about you. Now, usually these things you have signs usually when you're working in a well-functioning team, and there is a varying degree to this, guys. You have to understand something that it's everything has a range, and just because you are not the best at one thing, that doesn't matter as long as you're in at an acceptable level in that area. And in some cases, some you might be really good at something. You can just understand that every group has people, different types of players, or every team has different types of players, and they have different attributes about them. And that's you can still make everything, all these things work, even if you're not the embodiment of the perfect team player. But the thing that usually is a factor is things such as do you listen to people? Like, do people listen to you? Do you really listen to other people? Do you have good conversations? Do you feel like you can talk freely with your coworkers? And can they come to you and talk freely to you? Are you helping each other out when it's appropriate to do so? Are you there for each other, and do you have each other's back? And then the last thing is, of course, trust. Do you trust that your coworkers are trying to do a job? Are they trusting that you're trying to do a good job, and that you all can have this open kind of relationship where there's no, well, where you can just talk to each other freely, and there's not that much. I mean, nothing's ever perfect, but this is the ideal situation where there's no real prestige. You don't really try to stab each other in the back, and you can talk freely to each other, and you can listen, and you really feel heard, and you feel as if your coworkers, well, they are trustworthy. You don't have to be besties. You don't have to love each other to death. And every person who is part of a real team will tell you that varying people. Some people are very talkative or helps out a lot, and some people want to be left more alone or and so forth. And you can still make all of these things work. You're all different. The thing that really matters is if you can compromise enough of yourself, depending on, I mean, some people don't even have to compromise because they're born team players, or they're born leaders, or whatever. Like, they are already a perfect fit for the group. But in some cases you have to compromise, and just because you aren't a perfect fit for something doesn't necessarily mean that you can't adjust a little bit. And people can still, I mean, the group can adjust to you as well, and that's the balance between the environment and the individual. Both sides needs to try to adjust as best as possible to see if if the situation can become a fruitful partnership, if that makes sense. You can, of course, also be in a situation where you are so different in your value system that you don't that changing into the thing that you need to be in order to fit into the specific team that you're dealing with is going to kill you. And in that scenario, there's not much you can do, because and this is the thing that I've said a few times before, guys, about being hired to different companies and so forth. Sometimes you're just not someone they want to hire. You don't have the right smile, you don't have the whatever, you don't have the right value system, you're not old enough, you're too old. It can be anything. It's like, I mean, imagine actors, how they feel. You can be the best actor in the world, and they can just go, no, you have, I don't know, we're looking for someone who's a little bit taller than you or a little bit shorter. Like you can be rejected for a role based on all manner of things, right? And the same thing goes for us. You can't be a perfect fit for every company, and you can't be a perfect thing for all the things. But that at the same time doesn't mean that it's a problem with you. It's a combination of things. It's both you and the values of the company. Because as I said, if the team or the context is not willing to compromise on what they're looking for, what they're after, and you are not either able to fulfill that or compromise yourself and become the thing that they're looking for, then there can be no relationship and you have to go your separate ways. So what I want you to take away from this is that when I say that you're supposed to be a team player as a software developer, I believe that the way that you determine whether or not you are a team player is to first and foremost define what the team is. A team is is a group of people who first and foremost can talk to each other openly. They can exchange without fear or anything like that. Just talk openly. Number two is they listen to people and to each other. They feel heard. You feel heard by the group, and the group feels that you are listening to them as well. Number three, you are there for each other when you need it. In other words, if someone really needs help, you will step up and help them. In the return, the group will come and step up and help you if you need help. That's you got each other's back. Lastly, you trust each other. You trust that your teammates, your coworkers are going to try to do a really good job, and they trust that you're going to try to do a really good job. And when all of these things are in line, that's when you have a real team. And if you're paying attention, that's all that really is all it takes to be a good team player. Just be there for people and hear them out, and listen to them, talk openly, communicate in a non-threatening way, and try to be a good chum. And if that's, as I was saying earlier, if it's not possible for you to be part of that group, because sometimes you're simply not a good fit for the group. The group is made of people who have a certain value system, and you have a very different way of looking at things. Then the relationship cannot happen unless both sides are willing to compromise. In some cases, you can be good enough to fit in, and sometimes you're a perfect fit, but sometimes it's simply not going to work because you can't create a good partnership between these two entities. And then it's better for you to just accept that, yeah, you know what, this is probably not for me. I should go somewhere else. Have a great day.